Amy and Dillon were also sued for unpaid rent on her Arkansas clothing store in 2022. Amy Duggar's husband, Dillon King, has been ordered to pay over $156,909.96 in a second unpaid rent lawsuit for his restaurant business, after fighting a $236,728.08 judgment in a separate case. Dillon owns Wellington's with business partners and opened the first restaurant in 2020 in Springdale, Arkansas, before moving the eatery to Rogers, Arkansas. Amy and Dillon at his restaurant Wellington's in Springdale, Arkansas, before it closed and moved to Rogers, Arkansas. The U.S. Sun can exclusively reveal landlord Hillcrest Holdings, LLC sued Winston Holdings, LLC, aka Wellington's, Dillon, and two business partners for unpaid rent for the Springdale, Arkansas location. In August 2018, the plaintiff and defendants entered into a lease agreement to rent the property from September 2018 to December 2023. In July 2023, Dillon and his business partners allegedly vacated the premises, which constitutes as a default of the lease and a material breach of contract. The court papers continued to claim Winston Holdings, LLC failed to make the required monthly rent payments to the plaintiff as required by the lease after June 2023, and its failure to make said payments constitutes a default of the lease and a material breach of contract. In February 2024, the defendants responded to the lawsuit by denying the allegations and claimed defendants only admit they ceased making payments after plaintiff refused to communicate after several good faith attempts. They request the complaint be dismissed. Then, in an amended complaint, the plaintiff claimed Winston Holdings caused damages to the premises and failed to maintain the premises as required by Article 13.1 of the lease, and further failed to remove several alterations it made to the premises when it vacated same as required by Article 14.3 of the lease. Winston Holdings' acts and omissions constitute a default of the lease and a material breach of contract. Boyce, Gayer, and King personally guaranteed Winston Holdings' performance of all its obligations under the lease. Boyce, Gayer, and King have, likewise, failed to make any rent payments to the plaintiff after June 2023, repair the damages Winston Holdings caused to the premises while it occupied same, or remove any of the alterations Winston Holdings made to the premises. Dillon, who retained new counsel in the lawsuit, responded to the amended complaint separately from his business partners. While Dillon denied the new allegations of causing damages and failing to remove alterations of the property, he admitted that certain payments were not made to the plaintiff, but failure for such payments to be tendered were after good faith attempts were made to pay and to communicate with the plaintiff. It is denied that a material breach occurred. A consent judgment, which is a settlement agreement, was filed on January 2, 2025. The judgment is in the amount of $156,909.96. The U.S. Sun obtained exclusive photos of the restaurant in 2021. The restaurant featured a massive bar with shelves of liquor up to the ceiling, big screen TVs, and a dining area. There was a cigar lounge called The Reserve, where customers could smoke while relaxing on leather couches. Upstairs had more seating for dining, along with a private poker room. There was also dining on the front patio. Sefton de Lozuit. This lawsuit came just months before Dillon, Winston Holdings, LLC, and his two business partners were sued for unpaid rent of the Rogers, Arkansas location on April 2, 2024. The U.S. Sun previously reported from court papers, tenant has failed to pay minimum rent in full each month. Tenant has since made rental payments but has not paid all unpaid rent. Since the final notice of default, tenant has paid the following amounts towards its balance: $23,239.92 on January 25, 2024, $10,000 on February 15, 2024, and $10,000 on March 5, 2024. Despite these payments, tenant has yet to pay landlord the full unpaid balance. The lawsuit continues that the business was still occupying the premises at the time of the filing, despite the past rent due. The lawsuit claims defendants currently owe $86,683.30, plus future rent. On October 14, 2024, the plaintiff and defendant Winston Holdings, LLC filed that they have entered into an agreement. The court papers read, the parties have agreed that judgment be entered in favor of the plaintiff, Hackham Investments, Inc., against defendant Winston Holdings, LLC, for breach of contract as alleged in the complaint, in the amount of $240,000. The parties further agree that plaintiff, Hackham Investments, Inc., is awarded recoverable costs of $844.60 and reasonable attorney's fees of $18,982.50 as part of this consent judgment. That the plaintiff's judgment shall bear interest at the rate of 10% per annum until paid in full.